Are you kidding me? The tail end of this transmission isn't held in by anything. Welcome back, and what an incredible day it is today on the wet coast, and I'm going to try and take advantage of it as much as I can. I have dragged my Ford Maverick down from the back of the yard to get it on a nice flat spot on my driveway. I'd originally set the car up on jack stands in the backyard, and in the end I wasn't too happy with the mud and the grass and the sort of slope it was sitting on. It didn't feel very stable to me, and of course you really want to have as much safety as you can when you're jacking up cars and working on them, because they can very easily slip off of a jack stand. You always want to use jack stands, and honestly, I don't want to die being crushed underneath the car. I want to die quietly and peacefully in my sleep like my grandfather, unlike his passengers screaming in the back seat, but that's a different story. So I'm going to use my new pneumatic jack to get this thing all set up on the jack stands in the driveway here. I did actually do a little segment on this new jack that I bought. I'm going to just flip to that little video right now. You'll see that the car is on grass and stuff like that, and then flip back to this and get it all set up. So here we go. If you've got a supply of air, as in an air compressor, and you find yourself jacking cars up a lot, or trucks or whatever, this thing is a game changer. It's really fast, it's really cool, and I'll show you that now. So you hook up your air supply to the inlet here. This is the valve to let air into the airbag down there, which is the actual jacking mechanism itself. And this is the exhaust. You just open it up to allow the air out to lower the vehicle. And I'll show you how the airbag actually inflates. You can adjust the handle, super cool. So you can roll it under and get the right angle. But if I let air in, the airbag rises. And if you turn the other valve open, the airbag lowers. Pretty damn sweet. So this actually isn't a paid promotion for this air jack. I just loved it so much and I was excited about it. I wanted to let you guys and gals know, because maybe it's something you can use as well. Gravel's a lot more stable than grass and dirt, but it's still not great if you've got these types of jack stands, because they could dig into the gravel itself and the car can settle. Probably won't fall over, but I build these pads out of 2x4s cut 1 foot and then nailed crosswise. They work great for distributing weight. Makes it a lot more stable. See, that car's not going anywhere now. And I've got plenty of room to get under there and disconnect the transmission and drain the oil and all the rest of the stuff I need to do. There's one last thing left to do to make it even safer, and I'll show you that. Throw some spare tires under a section of the car that can support its weight. Spare tires with rims. That way, if the car does actually manage to slip, it'll land on these, giving you lots of breathing room, literally. Anyways, enough of the damn PSA. I gotta get this engine out. Starting with the radiator. I just pulled off this upper rad hose, and I'm gonna disconnect the bolts on the radiator, the lower rad hose, take the fan off, pull it all out. It's gonna give me lots of room to get the engine out after I take the hood off, but that's later. And out comes the radiator. Right, I think that's it for today. I've got some good progress done. I've got the radiator removed, the hoses, the shroud, all that stuff. It gives me lots of access to the front of the engine. I'm gonna go do some socializing tonight. I'll get back to it tomorrow. I'm gonna drain the transmission, remove the drive shaft, and see where that takes me. So tomorrow's another day. And just like that, it's another day. There's clouds moving in and rain is in the forecast for the next 10 days. So I'm gonna pitter patter and get at her. Today I'm going to remove the hood, drain the transmission, disconnect the exhaust, remove the drive shaft, and start tackling pulling the engine and transmission out. We'll see how far I get, so let's get to it. The first step is going to be draining the oil from the engine oil pan and removing the oil filter. At some point past Chris put a drain plug into the transmission pan. However, it seems like he didn't fasten the nut on the other side of the drain pan on the inside, so it's just turning. Ah, that was sloppy past Chris. You have to do it the old-fashioned way and undo the bolts all around the transmission pan. I've loosened the bolts enough that the transmission can start draining just beyond the gasket. So I'm going to let this drain and then pull the pan off. The cat wants to help. She is literally lying on my back right now. All right, all bolts but one are out. I have to get a new gasket. Yeah. Got the transmission all drained and put the pan back on just to keep stuff from getting in there. Now it's time to take the drive shaft out, so unbolt it at the differential and it'll slide right out of the transmission. There's a little bit of a spill. Pulled the drive shaft out. I'm going to start disconnecting the exhaust, starting with the header flanges here, and then I'll move up front and unbolt the headers from the engine. That's going to be fun. A little crowded under here. Anyways, I've got the exhaust disconnected from the headers and I've just got it hung so it doesn't drag on the floor because it is getting crowded under here. I think before I start taking the headers off the engine itself, I'm going to disconnect the... I've forgotten the name of the damn thing. Oh yeah, I'm going to disconnect the torque converter from the flex plate on the engine and then start disconnecting the headers. There's the first of 4 nuts that I have to remove from the flex plate to free up the torque converter. I have to undo it, rotate the engine a quarter of a turn, undo the next one, and do that 4 times total. Well, 3 times, because that one's right there. And oh yeah, there's a starter motor I gotta remove. I forgot about that. That's always fun. And that's the last of the nuts holding the flex plate to the torque converter. So now I'm going to take this starter motor out, just 2 bolts, a little harder one at the top to get to, and the electrical connection. This will take me a couple of minutes. It's always fun when you have a big engine and a little car that you have to wiggle things around to get them to fit, or to even install them or uninstall them. All right, time to go topside. Topside, getting close now, but there are a few more things I need to do. I have to remove the alternator, remove the power steering pump, remove the spark plugs, disconnect the distributor, undo the bell housing bolts on the back of the engine, disconnect the power brake booster vacuum line, and I think the only thing after that is to undo the motor mounts. Lift the transmission up on a jack so it doesn't flop down when I pull the engine forward. All right, it's not going to get itself done, so it's up to me. Okay, I've got the alternator out. I've got the power steering pump out. Well, they're tucked out of the way. They're still connected. I just don't want to completely disconnect them. Took off the spark plug wires. I disconnected the heater core hoses. Cleaned up this little area here. A bunch of wires got pushed off to the side, so I don't have to worry about them hanging up when I pull the engine out. And now I'm going to tackle the headers. Well, the automotive gods were smiling at me, or a much younger Chris remembered to put anti-seize on those header bolts because I got them all out, and wow, that made things so much easier. Spark plugs are out both sides. Headers disconnected, and those will not come out with the engine in place. I have to pull the engine out before they can come out. That'll be the next thing on the list. But that's for tomorrow. It's getting a little bit late and it's time for some dinner, so I think I'm gonna call it here for today and get back to it tomorrow as soon as I can. Welcome back. It's the next day, and as the weatherman has promised, the rains are here. So I'm taking a quick lull in the rain to get back on removing the engine out of the Maverick today. I've got a few things on my list I want to get done. Remove the hood, disconnect the engine from the transmission, block the transmission up so it doesn't fall, remove the transmission lines, remove the carburetor, hook it all up to something that's going to lift the engine out, and see if I can get that pulled out today. Let's get to it. The hood's now off, the carb is off, and it's time to get serious and disconnect the engine from the transmission. Well, the engine is completely disconnected. The only thing holding it in right now is gravity and stubbornness, and I've got a chain bolted across the intake manifold, and I'm going to lift the engine out now. I have an engine crane, but I don't have a flat concrete slab to use it on, so I'm going to do the next best thing, which is use my tractor. What could possibly go wrong, right? I would strongly recommend you don't try this at home, but that's something that you'd have to decide. I'm a little bit worried that I might not have enough lift with my little tractor to clear the fenders. I'm going to give it a try. See what happens. I don't think this rubber frost plug is supposed to look like this. Oh, something else to fix. Well, that went far better than I thought. I'm going to take the engine and put it on a pallet under a tarp until I'm ready to clean it up and continue with the project. Nice big empty engine bay. The transmission is just sitting on the jack, and the cross member underneath, I will just pull those out. I'm not even going to bother to record that because literally it's 2 nuts, and I'm just going to pull it right out and put it under a tarp with the engine. Now I have to do the exact same thing with that. I have to take the engine and transmission out of it. They're junk. I'm going to rebuild the transmission. Not sure what I'm going to do with the engine, but I won't really record most of that because it is almost literally identical to the last 15 or so minutes of what you just watched. And hey, if you made it this far, thank you so much. So I'm going to drag the F1 out on the driveway, get it up on jack stands, and start taking it apart. Hey, the sun's come out. I'm going to take advantage of it while I can. It's t-shirt weather all of a sudden. That's awesome. Driveshaft out. Driveshaft out. Remove the radiator. And the radiator's out. Remove the old exhaust. Exhaust is done. Remove the hood. remove the engine. And last but not least, remove the transmission. That was a lot of fun over the last few days, taking out the drivetrains from two separate vehicles. Now I have to put them together in one working drivetrain and put it back in the engine bay of the 1950 Ford F1. If you enjoyed this video, why not hit the like button and maybe share it around. Tell your friends and family, they might like it too. If you have any comments, think I'm being an idiot, or I'm doing something you like, let me know. Put them in the comment section down below. I will get back to you. Regardless, I will see you in the next video, and thanks for watching.